السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الله يسعد مساكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. And if you know what I'm doing, wallahi alhamdulillah, this event started good for me. And I was greeting the guests today, and one sister sitting with us, she took me aside, and I thought, oh no, usually when people come to me that we have done something terrible. And she handed me some jewelry. Wallah, she donated those, that we will auction those inshallah later on in the program. So she had begged that I don't recognize her by name. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the sister. And what a way to start the day. It is very difficult to talk about Syria in general. And in a setting like this, you start asking yourself, where should I start? Should I start talking about the 5 million refugees who left Syria, were forced to leave Syria? About 3 million of them lives in Turkey, and the rest live in Jordan, Lebanon, northern Iraq, and other places. Or should I talk about the 7.5 million IDPs, Nazihin, internally displaced persons? Some people, they think when we talk about IDPs and Nazihin, they think this is something easy and casual. My friends, on the average, these IDPs, they have been displaced twice. So I want you to take a second and think. If you are a resident of Damascus, or if you are a resident of Douma, or if you are a resident of Ghouta, and you had to be displaced first, you went first to Homs, north of Damascus. But then within a year, you have to move again. And you had to move to Idlib. Now imagine and put yourself in their situation when your job moves you from one city to another. Now these people, and usually when you move for a job, what keeps you going is the opportunity. You know you're doing this to improve yourselves, to improve your income. It is something good for your family, for your children. These people are forced, on the average, to move their homes twice in the last 5 years. Or should we talk about the 26 days right post or after the so-called recent ceasefire in Aleppo? It is unfortunate that one of our presidential candidates did not know what Aleppo is, or was, or is, or was. In 26 days, 361 civilians were killed. About 250 of those were women, some children. 22 massacres took place in those 26 days. And when we talk about massacres, we're not talking about Syrian people, crazies, fighting themselves. That's nonsense. These massacres were done by the Russians, were done by the Iranians, were done by Hezbollah, were done by the Assad regime, while so-called our friends are watching. In those 26 days, 26 civil or civic institutions, buildings, i.e. hospitals, were destroyed. That's Dr. Amran, on the average, one a day. This is what happened just recently. If you want to talk about over 500,000 people who have been killed in the last 5 years, and if you want to talk about the the millions, literally millions of children, 750,000 of them are in Turkey, who have missed out on at least 2 years of their studies, minimum. And those who have missed 2 years are the lucky ones, meaning the host countries is managing to catch them up. Or should I talk about, as of this year, now the numbers, I don't have the exact statistics, over 75% of the hospitals in Syria have been destroyed fully. The rest have been destroyed partially. Where should we start when we talk about Syria? But now, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about us a little bit. And here I want to beg your forgiveness, and I want you to bear with me. What I keep hearing at various degrees from our brothers and sisters from this community and other communities as I tour and I talk to people. The sense of desperation, yes. Why? Since when in this community, in this ummah, the Muslim people, they know hopelessness? Since when? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran orders us at the mouth of when Prophet Yaqub was ordering his children, ولا تيأسوا من روح الله. هذا ولا تيأسوا من روح الله مو يعني مو بس هيك على كيفكم. You simply cannot be or get yourself to the point of hopelessness. It is not a choice. Because if you reach that point of hopelessness, إنه لا يأس من روح الله إلا القوم الكافرون. That pushes you to the point of disbelief. But yet, our dear brothers, sometimes sisters, because I don't communicate much maybe with our wonderful sisters, but our brothers tells us, oh, the situation is desperate. Of course it is desperate. Of course it is bad. But what does that have to do with you taking an action? Well, that takes me to the other point. Since when? And I want you to explain this to me. Since when we are expected to show results? Don't we all believe that the results are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we are ordered to work, to do our part. وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا. And I'm sorry I had to jump from Syria to what's happening right now, because I am telling you, the entire world is judging from its conduct. It's judging from the world's conduct. And the so-called our friends, the friends of Syria, Syrian people have no one but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to rely on, and then themselves. Make no mistake about it. This does not make us ungrateful for all the assistance that we have received from the United States, from Qatar, from Saudi Arabia, from Germany, from all these wonderful countries. But yet, they are standing idle, watching Assad and his cronies and his allies, the Russians and the Hezbollah and Iran, slaughter the Syrian people. Guess what? We are on our own, and we have to do whatever we can to rebound from this thing. Now, what I wanted to focus on today is the concept of resiliency. If you go to Sheikh Google, to Mr. Google, and type in what does resiliency mean, you're going to get two definitions. One that talks about elasticity, the ability of an object, whereas when it's stretched, it comes back to its original form. And we've been stretched quite a bit, actually, now. And also there is another definition on the same link that tells you it's the ability to recover from a difficulty. And they say that's toughness. So we have to be We have to achieve this elasticity, and we have to have this toughness in order to go through the period that we're going through. But how do you achieve resiliency? How do you get there? First and foremost, my brothers and sisters, you have to accept reality. It is what it is. You cannot spend your lives, your hours, complaining about the world, complaining about the US, complaining about what President Obama did or he did not do, or whatever Mrs. Clinton is going to do, or whatever Mr. Trump, with a D, I'm sorry, whether he's going to do or not do. I meant to say with a D. You cannot worry about these things. Accept the reality that we have a problem, a huge one, no one is helping us, and we have to do something about it. Then, we accept the reality, you've got to reach down to your faith and find out what foundation you're standing on. And after you do that, you start improvising. And improvising means to me, taking action. You have to. There is no escape. There is no excuse. You cannot say that these people in Syria فوتونا ب60,000 حيط and we cannot do anything about it. You cannot say that. That's not allowed. It's a fact. We said you accept the reality. So you cannot live in that mode of thinking that all what you do is complain. Not acceptable. You have to get yourself out of that. And this is a real problem we have. And then some people say, well, I'm afraid. Maybe I want to go to Syria one day. Let me tell you something about what a slave does, what the masters of the slave do when the slave returns. So what happened? The slave escapes the farm. And then somehow the slave gets lost. Now they want to go back. They need a place to live. They need a place to eat. They need somebody to take care of them. And they want to go back to the master. And you know what the master does when the slave returns to the farm? Does the master give him a big hug? Do they throw a big party and cakes and candles and tell all the other slaves in the farm that everything is good and hunky-dory? No. What the master does, he takes that slave and gives them a good beating. So those who had not escaped the farm, they dare not to do it again. Assad looks at us as Syrians as his slaves. This is a fact out of his conduct, out of his ideology. This is the Assad doctrine. Even they call it Surya al-Assad. This is Assad's Syria. It's known. He sees Syrians as his subjects. So those who stood against him, when they come back, they will take a good beating. The problem, my friends, is Assad. If you're afraid that you don't want to participate because one day you want to go under the cover of Assad, then we have a problem. But if you're afraid also because I don't want to donate because it's going to make some people angry, but you're donating to organizations, you are as a donor responsible to make sure that your donation is responsible and it's smart. And I'm going to talk quite a bit about smart donations today. The Syrian Forum is in the US registered in a 501c3, and it's your donation is tax deductible, and it's also registered in Turkey also as something called dernek. It's an association, non-profit dernek. This is the equivalent of a 501c3 here. And so everything is legal. Accounting-wise, we're audited by KPMG. So we are trying to do whatever we can to make sure that this concern of fear of donating to an organization is alleviated. Now you say, I'm confused. I don't know what's going on in Syria. Me too. But at the end of the day, people are dying every day. People are escaping their homes every day. Schools are being destroyed every day. And when people escape, they're finding themselves without skills. They're not ready to enter a new market because they have not been prepared where they were before. So what do? Because we are confused, because we don't know who is who, we stop helping? You have to forgive me. Those excuses are, in my opinion, not acceptable. Finally, I hear this quite a bit. Sallu al Habib ya Jama'ah. I talk to our brothers and they tell me, Wallah, Brother Ghassan, I have family members that I'm responsible for. Okay. I'm telling you myself, I have lost over half of my income. At some point, it was close to fourth of what I used to make in the US back in 2012. My responsibilities to my family members have increased, wallahi. This excuse of saying I have family members that I'm responsible for, not convincing at all. You know what? You have to. What are you saying? You're telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, خلاص Allah بشان الله يعني أنا خلاص دفعت اللي علي. You are responsible for these people anyway. Now, your country, where you came from, needs you. Because others are not stepping up and they are not helping as they should be. And I do apologize for putting these things on the table because these have become repetitive themes that I hear from our brothers and sisters. Wallahi, we are better than that. By Allah, we are better than that. I am responsible to help my mother and my brothers and what have you, but yet I either have to put a time to help my home country, and also I have to put the time to help Syrians and take them from where they are today to where they need to be. Here is what we are doing in the Syrian Forum. Let me ask you this question. Wouldn't it be nice that when you donate $1, you know that this dollar creating a 30 times impact, like your dollar that you donate becomes $30. Wouldn't that be great? We have business people here, Omar, a 30%, that's 300% investment, right? It's unheard of. By Allah, I am making a qasam in front of you. Wallahi, we are reaching this. Now, this is our second year at the Syrian Forum. I'm going to tell you how we do that. The Syrian Forum's budget annually is about $3 million for these 6 institutions. Allahu Akbar. You're wasting $3 million on what? Where is this money going? Right, Akhi Salim, isn't that the question that comes? Who asked me that the other day? Omar, right? You heard that from one other brother. وين عم تروحوا بالمصاري؟ اصبروا علي شوي. $3 million. Ihsan alone, Ihsan for Relief and Development. Last year, 2015, download, and I'm sorry I did not have enough copies of our annual report. It was published last year, and there's the 2014, 2015 are on our website. In 2015, $21.9 million, Ihsan alone. These are projects inside Syria. But how did that work? We did not receive donations from the community with $21.9 million. You know what we did? We took time in 2013 and 2014. We took a lot of beatings from the international community and the international NGOs, and we learned how to apply for grants, how to write proposals, and we taught Syrians how to do this. And alhamdulillah, in 2014, we brought in, wallahi, when people were telling us you will not be able to get money from the international community, while people were telling me I cannot do it, in 2014, we got $7 million. In 2015, In 2015, we got $21.9 million. This year, inshallah ta'ala, we will close between 27 and $30 million. This is Ihsan project. Ihsan works on schools, agriculture project, delivering food baskets. When we deliver food baskets, we don't deliver them the traditional way, by the way. We make them inside Syria. So we manufacture the baskets inside Syria. You know what that does? And I'll tell you what that does. 1,000 baskets بتشغل معمل مربى for a month. And if you have an item of a jelly in a food basket and you have 1,000 baskets, a small size factory, you can put it to work for a whole month just because you bought from them. And we work on schools, and we work on creating safety places for women and children, and we have a creative way for education, not the traditional schools, by creating smaller groups, similar to the concept of homeschooling, Sister Sahar. So what we do, we take 2-3 teachers, and we convince them to use one of their homes, and they bring children to their homes, and we give them all the supplies, because getting them to a school is very difficult in some areas. So what we have in 2014, we have introduced the concept of delivering education in crisis situation. So we have done this, we call it halaqat ilm, and what it is basically is homeschooling, where three teachers group together and they use the home as their classrooms. But that's only ihsan. So I've met my commitment only with ihsan. Let me tell you the rizq, and I will stop, because I want to bring Brother Abdul Rauf to the podium. Look what we have done with rizq. At the end of the day, for the Syrian Forum, when we first started in 2011, 2012, 2013, we were just like anybody else. People come, knock on your doors. These are refugees. They're coming out of Syria, the influx that came to Turkey. And I'm speaking about Turkey. My experience is mainly in Turkey. They come to Turkey. If they are poor in Syria, definitely they're going to be poor in Turkey. Some of them I've known people who owned factories, they were business people, Akhi Umar. Wallahi, they came to Turkey with the clothes on their back. Stories that breaks your heart. And imagine that someone that you know yourself, that's well off, and all of a sudden is standing in front of you, penniless, literally penniless. They need rent, they need the next day food, they need some sort of transportation so they can get back on their feet. Wallahi, alhamdulillah, a lot of business people from the Gulf, from other places were generous. But you know what? It wasn't sustainable. We could not sustain that operation. Just simply come to Abdul Rauf, wallahi, now I have a new family. Please, I need the sponsorship of this family at 1,000 lira a month. I need a 12,000 lira for a year, so I can at least make sure they're taken care of for a year. We couldn't sustain that. So by end of 2013, alhamdulillah, a Syrian young man, wallahi, he's from Deir ez-Zor. He almost finished his PhD in biology. Came to Urfa as a refugee and came to us. Actually, I met him after he went to several people and they told him, your idea will not work. Came to me, he said, I have this idea. I am looking for a job, but let's find jobs to Syrians. I told him, I'm game, I'm with you. We opened the first shop, storefront, Akhi Abdul Rauf, in the most, the poor area where basically you have a storefront and looking for laborers to register with you, right? So you can find jobs for them, if you can imagine. After 2 months, alhamdulillah, we realized that there is an opportunity. We took an office. We started that work mid of 2014. By end of September of 2016, end of last month, alhamdulillah, Rizq was able to find jobs for 6,370 Syrians. Alhamdulillah. The story gets better. At an average salary of 1,300 Turkish lira a month, So take out your cell phones, multiply 1,300 times 6,370. You're going to get a number, right? Multiply that by 12. You're going to get another number. You divide that by 3. This is the current Turkish lira conversion. An investment of rizq of $300,000 a year produces $33 million of income. This is direct, tangible impact to your fellow brothers and sisters Syrian refugees in Turkey. $33 million. Now, Omar, you have to tell me, if you have a better investment than this, you have to tell me. Wallahi, if this was for profit, I want to get into that business. We cannot do this thing for profit. We cannot charge. We are allowed to conduct this business in Turkey because it's a service to refugees. We cannot charge neither refugees nor the business owners for that. This is what the Syrian Forum is all about. Now I can tell you Busla, what Busla does, it works with rizq to prepare this refugee to understand the job market. At a minimum, each person that we look for a job for, we put them through a course that they know what working in Turkey is like. We prepare them to succeed. Fanar comes in and takes care of the youth and provides programs for their children. This is what the Syrian Forum is all about, my dear brothers and sisters. I can give you a ton of stories. Ihsan inside Syria, we look for every project to produce jobs. Ihsan, in its project, employs inside Syria, at any given time this year, over 537. Look, only 19 are full-time employees with us. But at any given time, we have this many people working on project. In Aleppo alone, we have a network of 225 engineers. At any given time, we have about 27 engineers working on our project, employed. You know what it means, Abu Ammar, when you employ somebody? Ahmed in Idlib. She has 2 sons, Omar and Ahmed. She took 2 courses with us. One of them is the creative teaching methods at the time of crisis. And she took another course in computer. And then she applied with another organization because at the time, we did not have a job for her. Her monthly income is $180 a month. You know what? She's doing well. You give her tools, you prepare her, and you've given her this economic empowerment, and you protected her from all sorts of abuse. This is what the Syrian Forum is about. We're about development, we're about building capacity, we're about working on a solution that we know eventually it will be good for Syria on the long term. If I look today only for the bakery that needs bread today, I cannot turn your dollar into 30. I will turn your dollar into 75 cents. But if I need to work on development and focus on working on projects that create jobs, I tell you, this is how we can save Syria. This is how we can build our capacity. And this is how we can help all of our friends help us better to build a better and brighter future for Syria. Inshallah, I look forward. Inshallah, I've made my case for you to support the Syrian Forum. I invite you all to come and visit us in Turkey. Make a trip. Make a trip to Turkey. Make it a tourist trip. Wallahi, you will be impressed. I guarantee you to be impressed. If you are not impressed with our work, I will pay your ticket fare from my own pocket. I'll have to beg Salim or somebody to pay that. You will be impressed. I guarantee you that. You should come. But participate. This work cannot be sustained. There is a portion of it that cannot be sustained without your help. And that portion, our international friends, they are not generous on it. They are very generous to pay for bread, flour, and other things. But when it comes to training the Syrians, they're a little bit tight. And that can only happen with your contribution and your support. Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khair. And thank you for listening to me.